We keep the 7 high. We keep the 7 high. Allah's my protector and my guide, and my salvation by the day and by the night.
Was not there. As a matter of fact, he made a couple of comments to the brother, man, come on, don't do that, let's get up out of here. But of course, you're guilty by association according to them. He stood his ground, didn't cop no plea. He did not let his parents enforce a lawyer on him. He told him plain and simple, prove what I did. I ain't interested in your conversation about what that man did. Prove that I did something wrong. They couldn't. And y'all just watch these TV shows. Because guess what? That's why you're in jail. You watch them TV shows, and they tell you, well, look, your partner did such and such and such and such, and he done told on you, and you're going down. Cats that ain't did nothing.
You tell on him.
And they get you to, out of fear and intimidation, they get y'all talking. You just signed the contract. You just signed the contract. You don't know when to use acquiescence and when not to acquiesce. We ain't got no conversation. Now your job is to prove that I'm guilty of a crime. Prove it. Now we ain't going to trial. We ain't going to trial. We ain't going with no jury trial, first of all. Because that's a game for them. That's not a jury. That's just another 6 or 12 people who are part of the corporation. Because it's not a constitutional court in the first place. So that's just another 6 or 12 folks they using against you because one, they're not going to be properly informed. I mean, we had a sister out in Cali just asked everybody, how many of y'all can quote the Constitution? How many of y'all are constitutional sovereign citizens? Nobody had a clue what she was talking about. Okay, I want them all off. Nope, 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 nope. Just ask them what the First Amendment is. Ask them what the Fourth Amendment is. They can't tell you what it is. Get your happy ass out of here. You're not qualified. Because where does that whole process come from? The Constitution. And we done gone over and over and over. Anything that any accusations they bring against you, first of all, it must be proved, it must be shown and supported by the Constitution. And where in the Constitution that this particular crime was authorized. And that's the sole key, is understanding. And I've been trying to hammer it into y'all head just 10 minutes a day with that Constitution. And I've yet got 3 people who can quote that Constitution, just the amendments. But you'll quote scripture to me all day long. Man, in Zechariah 3:12, and Jeremiah 22:6. Well, what about Article 6, Section 2? Everybody shall take an oath, who call themselves a judge, to uphold what? And the Constitution says there shall be a what form of government? Okay, then let's set up a Republican form of government before we begin any type of trial. Because now I have your contract, and just had it up there, breach of contract. When you violate the sworn oath, that's a breach of contract. That's a fiduciary duty. That's a breach of contract with me. If you violate the contract and I receive injury, then guess what? You best believe I'm gonna lay claim on you. I got you.
What's the fine for that?
Breach of contract, failure without legal excuse. There ain't no excuse. Because you took an oath. How the hell can you have an excuse? Ain't no what I swore to uphold, but hell no. Ain't no buts. Ain't no buts. And guess what? When you cause me injury, y'all don't realize how important this is. This is what the Constitution means right here. Point blank. Your right to remedy. Nothing and no one can take it away. Your right to remedy. Go back to that default judgment for Omari. Remedy. The means by which a right is enforced or the violation of a right is prevented, redressed, or compensated. Right of action, the present right to commence and maintain an action. And remember earlier, we went through the cases that said, if they don't provide your remedy, what is your right?
To create
To create your own.
Create your.
But it said, the other case said, what about the sovereign? His rights is protected through what? By his ability to use the what? To exercise the organs of the what? The Constitution. You can holler all day long about you being this and you being that and you being sovereign. But it ain't freaking possible if you don't know the book that was created to protect that, to guarantee and maintain that, regardless of what contracts government creates. How? How is it possible? How is it possible for me to fly a plane without understanding the laws of navigation and the instruments on the plane? How is it possible? It's not. Unless I was just born so brilliant that I just desired to want it and it instantly was just downloaded into my subconscious. Right, like they did Neil in the Matrix. Hey, I need to fly a helicopter. Boot my ass up right quick. Boom, boom, boom. I'm flying the helicopter. We ain't got it like that yet. So we got to sit down, crack the book, and study. And this is an old song that I'm tired of playing. I even got diplomatic on y'all. I can't be with the damn tie on. Let me try something different. Let me try something new. I say for some of them, they're going to find it as semantics. They're going to find it
Get you
a
some
little bit hilarious.
bleaching cream.
But some might see,
You dress like that all the time.
Oh,
some might see a diplomatic approach. It's like at this point, by any means necessary. What is it going to take? Because can't nobody, listen, I don't want to be responsible for my son. And I told him I'm not. You're going to stand on your square or fall on your ass. It's your choice. And I had to take my hat off to him because a few weeks ago, he had an altercation right here in Illinois with a cop. His happy ass, he jumped the gun a little bit. But I was proud. The boy went to the computer, found a complaint form by which to file a complaint against a police officer, and sent it off before I could, first of all, review it and sign it. And they called back and said, hey, we sorry, but we can't file a complaint because there has to be a signature of an adult. He's not 18. He's not 21. I say, well, I apologize for that, but he didn't give me a chance to, review it before he sent it off. He was in a hurry. He's looking for his remedy.
He was doing the 72-hour thing.
And right now, we waiting on them to call him back up to take a few pictures. For him to review some pictures, because when he asked the officer for his name and badge, evidently he gave him a fictitious badge number. I guess he gave the name, but he gave a fictitious number. And that's a felony right there. That's a felony right there. So we're just waiting on them to call us up to go and review some of the images so he can pick out my man.
Covering his ass.
And it's a done deal. Title 42. I've been telling y'all for the longest. Title 42, section 141. Patterns and practice.
He's covering his ass.
Patterns and practice. They beat the shit out of Rodney King on the highway, and Congress said, okay, this shit is out of control. We have to do something at this point. And it says right in there that the only way this is going to be enforceable is through litigation. And there are not 10 cases that we have filed as of yet. All the cases that initiated said president was by the Janet Reno back in the day.
Attorney General.
Title 42, what else?
Section 141, patterns and practice. This is a constitutional remedy, says Congress. And not only is the police officer liable, but the police department,
The city.
and the county, because back in the 90s, they passed another act to stop police brutality and harassment amongst black people. And we don't believe that we possess either of these. And the proof is in the pudding.
Right of action
The
and
proof is in the
remedy.
pudding.
They don't believe it, because they always, when I talk to them, they always say, what am I supposed to do?
We take our ass kicking and keep on ticking.
Talk a lot of noise. Talk to them all the
And
time.
we drop it right there. And I have to say, sometimes even myself, I get so overwhelmed with stuff that I'm like, hold on, how did I lose course? And something like, Dad, can you call the people and find out if they got the pictures ready? All right, we'll check on it. He's keeping me on point, staying at it. Because we'll find an excuse not to go and get a remedy. We'll find something to do. I watch it. We'll find a ton of shit to do to keep us from doing what we should do. Man, I know I need to sit down and read this book. Oh, man, I forgot. Mom wanted me to come over and do such and such. Boom. I'm gone, forgot it, or I'll get back to it. But that's what we do. That's what we do. But ain't nobody finna fix nothing. If you don't fix it, it ain't gonna get fixed. And if you're looking for a savior,
It's me.
just kiss it goodbye. And I'm gonna say this off the camera, off the record. That dude that they just put going off is not your friend. They ain't got no money. How do you think they're gonna pay off the debt? Say it again. And we got a congressional act. I ain't trying to make you afraid of none of that, but hey, there's nothing else to pay it off with. There's nothing else to pay it off with. What do they have? They're gonna liquidate the asses. If you want to call them assets, that's fine. But it is the asses of the U.S. citizens that are going to pay this debt. They're fin to own and control all that you call corporation. They already got federal work camps in place. It's getting serious.
So wake the fuck up.
And you know what? It's the beautiful, I gotta give it to them. One of my books I got on foreign affairs, this book was printed back in the 80s. And I was showing it to my partner yesterday before I left Detroit. I'm like, dude, look at this. Now that guy was, hold on, we still, or demand. And just like you have a right, they do too. You have a right to force, as long as it's supported. The whole purpose of the Constitution is to make sure that whenever you were injured or harmed, you have a right to to remedy. That whenever anyone, especially government, and if you read the end game, you got a good clue now. If you read your status as a U.S. citizen, you totally understand how you have been made a corporate citizen, how you have been made property of a corporation. People, what I have been working towards is giving you an evolution of understanding of common law and international law, because the game is changing every day. The Constitution is the foundation, the springboard you into the world courts when it comes down to it. Because they got a plan to suspend the Constitution. They can't suspend it, but you're going to agree to it because the majority, and that's what we got to understand, we who have a clue ain't reached critical mass yet. And that's what I was looking at when I got in here that night. I said, oh my goodness, their critical mass outweighs ours. Because there are much more of the ignorant than the informed. Let me correct that. The uninformed outweigh us by a ton, several tons. So it is their energy that is dominating. And it's hard for us to understand that because we don't have enough indoctrination of metaphysics. And they got a ton of that. They tell you why Christianity is so powerful and really cannot be eradicated without a spiritual involvement. Because we don't understand the energy called ether and the mindset that is contained around this planet. This planet has an etheric body just like we have an etheric body. And there are imprints upon our etheric body. When we find ourselves trying to break habits, and we struggle like hell trying to break certain habits because we know that these habits are not good for us. But it ain't just on a physical level. It's an energy field that holds this vibration, this frequency. And it's like a force field. And some of y'all have been complaining about me getting into my religion, metaphysics, because it ain't got nothing to do with law. But you don't understand, it is law. Law has many elements and many parts. And when you understand that element, the physical work ain't so hard now. But when you know how to disrupt that frequency, you can then change those habits. You have to remove them. You have to break that vibration. You have to change that frequency. It's going one particular way. And you need to interrupt it. You need to break it so that you can change it. So now it's got a better frequency. And there are methods, there are techniques. I've been talking about the stuff that Suzar brought from day one. Serious, powerful. And the planet has the same frequency, the same shit going on. There are implants and frequencies throughout her body because the masses of us has created that frequency that Mother Earth carries. Y'all been hearing me saying that she can't carry it no more. It's causing her too much illness. And she's finna disrupt it, but she's gonna get help. The solar system is gonna realign, which is gonna help her break her frequency and her pattern so that she can let go of these negative vibrations and reoccurrences. It's all connected. Ain't no separation. It's all connected. And we're the ones who have created a lot of this. We're responsible for what's wrong with her. Not the pollution from the automobiles and the factories. The shit we release is 1,000,000 times more harmful. Because what has created all of this? A thought. All of this bullshit is a thought. And until you can get a thought with a better frequency to disrupt and change it, it's going to continue. We going to get some help and she going to get some help. But for the most part, if we don't do this on our own, when she do it for us, some of us ain't going to be around. Some of us don't want to be around. And some of us ain't going to have a choice. But it's all metaphysics. It is. It's all interrelated. Every one of us is connected. They talk about this etheric grid. They talk about in the Indigo movie how our babies, these indigo babies all around the world, are linking up and connecting and communicating with each other. So we think the internet was created when them white boys came up with the system. The internet has been around since before man. This same etheric body possesses all knowledge, all science. We ain't creating nothing. We tapping into the universal web and it's downloading to us because just like when you type in an idea or word on the internet and it goes out into what? Cyberspace, and it finds the knowledge and brings it back and downloads it. You do the exact same thing with a thought. How do you think you created all of this shit? You put the idea out into cyberspace or cosmic space or outer space or inner space. And the universe downloads it back to you. Some of us can profess to that. It happened to us a lot. Sitting down by the water, meditating, focusing on it, and it just boom. My head started swimming. I had to go home and take me a couple of days to try to figure it out. I'm writing. I got the recorder trying to put down on words what just happened, so I don't lose the information. I just trying to make sure you save it. And if we did a little bit more practice there, a lot of this shit would be a lot easier for us. It's gonna take us a minute to get back, because we stuck on the fact, on this physical plane thinking that we actually physical beings, as opposed to who and what we really are. As best I could, I structured a format, a process. Constitution was the foundation of the process. The administrative process was the next aspect. The special appearance. But prior to the special appearance, we did your status. Because we're having a hard time understanding how to separate between a national government and a corporation. We just couldn't work it out in our head. So again, we put it in the book. We put it in the book. Your status. Gave you all the U.S. codes that told you what the U.S. is. They got 2 statutes at large, not one that says they're a permanent corporation. Did anybody know the code that says that a U.S. citizen is also a corporation and property of the U.S.? No. It's Title 42. It's in that book. Look it up for me right quick. We gave you a list, not something I heard or said, but what they say. Best way to give it to you is from them, so you're not confused. Brother Omari ain't making this up. He didn't write this. He simply copied it from their manuals, from their information. And then time to time he tries to find the Caucasian, because that's validation. I mean, come on, that's how we are. Yes, ma'am.
Do you happen to know why they had the Constitutional Convention vote on the ballot?
Well, say that again.
Yeah.
Constitution, because they want to change it,
Say it again.
Why
because they want to change it.
I can't hear the question.
Or they
Why
want
they
to convince you that they even have a right to change it. But
No.
you got to understand again, what and where were they actually dealing with? Were they dealing with the corporation's bylaws, or were they actually dealing with the corporation? I mean, the Constitution. They can't deal with the Constitution because they don't have any authority to. Everything they're doing is as a corporation, mimicking, impersonating a national government. And by the way, the Ernest Walker manual that I promised, it is up there.
Where?
As a matter of fact, give me let me get one of those manuals right quick. Yeah, let me get it. Ten. You know, this was some of the best validation for me, and I mentioned that last class. When I came across this brother's brief, and I saw how I was evolving this material, and right off the bat, the first thing I noticed is how he opens up with the Republican form of government. He opens up with acknowledging the Republican form of government, making sure that there is no misunderstanding about his status and where he stands. I done read a lot of briefs, but when it comes to a solvent brief, covering all the bases, this is one of the baddest. And he constantly says throughout the brief, the entities that he's dealing with are not part of the petitioner's government nor nationality, but are personating and impersonating a Republican form of government. They're pretending to be the government when they know all the time that they are nothing but a corporation. And they are committing acts of treason. They are violating the law of nations 24/7. And everything is in place. We covered Title 28 that deals with the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act. We've covered the laws dealing with expatriation, the statutes at large that deals with expatriation. And yet and still, we have a hard time understanding what we're doing. And the only reason we have a hard time understanding is because we've yet to sit down and study. But this, when we talk about extraordinary writs, this is the most powerful part of your power and authority. When I had the brother read extraordinary writs last week, as a matter of fact, for those of you who are new, we're gonna fill up to it. Quo warranto. Oh, here you go. What you do, by the way, what you do with the copy again? Anybody in here who didn't get a copy of quo warranto? I didn't know where. Get out of here.
Man, you know how much I love you, man. Why you always taking
Madly.
taking this?
Madly.
You know what I'm saying?
Madly. Huh? Yes, sir. Anybody else didn't get a copy of quo warranto? Oh. Go ahead, start reading.
You just ready?
Yep.
Memorandum/article in support of the common American people directly prosecuting quo warranto. State ex rel criminal complaints in any state or federal court in the Union. A study of the implications of ORS 30.510-30.640, composed by Charles Bruce, Steward of Sandy, Oregon. Individuals may bring complaints in the name of and on behalf of the state. The legislative assemblies of our American states have enacted various, quote, state ex rel statutes, unquote, so as to preserve the constitutionally secured rights of, quote, we the people, unquote, to involve the Old English, quote, quo warranto judicial process. Hereunder, when any individual files a quo warranto criminal complaint, that individual's membership in the constitutional state is invoked, so as to specifically...
Hold on, right there. Did y'all hear what the brother said? Did y'all hear what he said? Somebody repeat what he just said.
That individual's... Hereunder, when an individual files a quo warranto criminal complaint, that individual's membership in the constitutional state is invoked.
Yes,
Ah.
it's
Did
invoked.
y'all not catch that? Y'all didn't
Yeah.
catch it last time.
Yeah, it's invoked.
What we've been talking about to get, what do we have to do to issue, to utilize the Constitution? What do we have to do? Invoke it. Choice of law. You have to create the common law court because you're dealing with a corporation. But what they didn't tell you is they got two hats. But again, it is always whose choice to determine.
My choice.
Because even when you acquiesce, you say, okay, you know what? I don't want to exercise my common law remedy. I'm going to let y'all have this. I'm going to let y'all issue y'all corporate statutes on my behind. Because I ain't had enough of getting my butt kicked. So go right ahead. Go right ahead.
So as to specifically declare that the direct consequence of a crime having been committed against him as an individual. A crime has also been committed against the state. This due process all works this way because of this individual's relation as a socially compacted member of the body politic of the state. The term real at the end of the above quoted phrase, state ex real, signify this relation of this individual through social compact with the remaining members of we the people in our constitutional state. Hereunder, whenever any person is so accused of abusing any public office or franchise in such a state, such person is liable for complaint against him in the court of that state. The quo warranto state ex real complaint in accompaniment hereto is lawfully authorized to proceed in this precise manner. In efforts to gain a clear comprehension of this unique legal process, a very insightful case precedent to study is the following. State ex real Madden versus Crawford, 207 March 56.
Don't worry about the case law, just,
This is an original proceeding by quo warranto challenging the right of the defendant, James W. Crawford, a duly elected, qualified, and acting circuit judge of the state of Oregon for the 4th Judicial District, to sit temporarily as a member of the Supreme Court of Oregon. Quote, the question is an important and delicate one, because the decision will directly affect the problem of this court, which give rise to the enactment of the legislation involved. We cannot, however, take into account considerations of expediency in making our decision. Our sole duty is to determine whether the statute squares with the Constitution and render judgment accordingly. ORS 30.510 in part provides, this enactment is the statutory equivalent of the common law writ of quo warranto.
let me back you up right quick. Hold your spot right there. When he just read prior to, he said the statute, to determine whether the statute squares with the Constitution. Because even in the corporation laws, the commercial codes, it says that the code must be what? In harmony with the Constitution. And it is. Squares means the same thing as being in harmony. They are there. The writs have always been there because no one can get rid of them.
They try to.
This is a writ of habeas corpus for the state of Michigan. We have it for the state of Illinois. But again, we got to keep in mind, we want to keep it in the common law venue. Be mindful. You don't want to use theirs. You can acknowledge it. But you bring in your writ under common law. It ain't a privilege. It's a right. Understand that. And again, you do not need the court system. That's the next part. Because all of this is what? Extraordinary means what?
Outside of court.
Extraordinary means what? Say it. Come on.
Outside the court.
Outside. When I tell you the power between the court and you, no court has power over this, but one.
Your court.
Say it again.
Your court.
Okay. Go ahead.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Oh,
When you said you can acknowledge it, what do you mean by that?
pursuant to the Illinois Code, pursuant to.
Gotcha.
But we're not operating off a statute. We're operating out of common law. Because we're not going to give them juries. We're not going to let them tell us they can or cannot. It's not their choice. It's our choice and our decision. Only the people can issue a writ. When you issue a quo warranto, you take on the status of the Attorney General of the national government, United States of America, not the corporation. The only Attorney Generals that exist is the people when they take on their proper status. And corporations poop in their pants when you come at them under quo warranto. Any of them. Because guess what? They can't come in your venue with no statutes and codes and ordinances. You shut it all down. Yes, ma'am.
You can jump all over me again, but
I will.
I'm just, all of this, after we go through the administrative process, we've done our 3 letters, and we have them in default. Is this what we would do with our article?
We don't have them in default. We're
No, I
past
said-
default. We have a judgment.
Okay, so
We
after
have
you
a
have the judgment, is that when you pull in your extraordinary writ? When do you pull in the writ, is what I'm asking you.
It depends on which writ you're using. If you've got your judgment and you're ready to collect, well, what could we quote to say that we have a right now to enforce our remedy? We got a judgment, right? What is that? Pull that default judgment back up here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you look at, you got a copy of the end game, right?
Yes.
Okay, what codes are in there that speaks on your right?
Memorize the code yet?
Well, they're in there, there's
I'm just saying they're not in there. I just-
self-help. What does self-help
Self-help.
mean?
Self-help is,
Do you have the book?
yes.
Don't guess, open up the book. You got it
have
with
it
you?
with me.
Oh, now that's smart. You come to class, you go to chemistry class and leave the chemistry book at home. Hey, I'm just curious. Scroll on down. I gotta beat you up.
That's okay, beat me up.
Remedy, right of action,
Thank you, Ron.
default, the omission or failure to perform a legal or contractual duty, failure of a party to take steps required of him in progress of a cause, or fails to appear on the trial, and when you don't respond to the notice, it's the same thing, you on trial.
Yes.
So you in default. Now I have the right to enforce my judgment. Can you pull that up?
Which?
So you.
Go
after
into
judgment,
end game.
Oh,
Pull up and go to
okay,
self-help.
got it.
Yes.
Do we put the full warranto, is this in the beginning, at the same time when we're putting the complaint on them?
It is the complaint. You open up, you stating, just like you would. In this brother's brief, it says, just like on the writ of error,
Right.
you tiling it what it is. You're bringing the complaint under quote warranto. This complaint states a petition for extraordinary writs, and it lists pretty much all of them.
Now, you said the writ of
Habeas corpus.
Now, can you put a time limit on the habeas corpus?
What do you mean, can you put a time limit on habeas corpus?
Like if you don't want them ever trying to incarcerate you.
Well, no, you can't put a time limit on because you don't know when and if you're going to be incarcerated. You can have a habeas corpus on standby. You can
Right.
have a format.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Absolutely, all day.
And filed in their court.
No. You can't file it. First of all, why would you want to file it in the court? You can't file a habeas corpus until there's a body to be released, because that's the purpose of it.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
If the body has been taken, and through the taking of that body, a constitutional tort or violation was created. If there's no jurisdiction, if there's no proper claim, if there's no proper law supporting their ability to take that body, then you have a right to have the body released. And you submit. You can do your administrative process. You can bypass that, state the actual complaint, and take it where it needs to be taken.
So do you submit the habeas corpus in the court venue that the body was taken in, or?
You can go to the sheriff, but you're gonna have to invoke the common law onto the sheriff, or you can take it to the next level, which is the marshal. But I'm gonna tell you now, don't run your happy ass up in there stuck on stupid. Don't go trying, cause we good for that. We go trying to do things that we don't have a clue about, we just gonna try it. That is not where you wanna try it. You don't want to try it then and there. You want to have the process. And see, you guys would be so far ahead of this game if you would just spend 10 minutes reading. I spend a lot of time doing what?
reading.
No, regurgitating things I've said 1,001 times because the evidence of us not studying is prevalent. When I ask something, when I open up my mouth and say Constitution, we shouldn't have to pick up a book. But it's because we have not understood what sovereignty is. When they wrote that book, they said it ain't no way possible to call yourself sovereign and be ignorant of the law. Point blank. But you take time to step in the name of love, but you won't take 10 minutes.
Sir, got a question. So when you invoke 1746-1, that's common law, correct?
1746-1 without the United States,
Yeah,
under the law of
that's
the
common
United
law,
States of America. Yes, sir, but you don't just want to stop there.
I know you can continue. I know just where you start off with the common law.
Right.
Okay. All right.
You supporting your action. You're always supported by law. This piece right here is the status that this brother put. This is actually a letter to Kofi Annan. If there's any confusion about your status, he done eradicated it. That's the second part of that brief. That's the notice to Kofi Annan that is in the back. And this is a powerful letter. It's a powerful letter. I mean, and he done, like I say, the people that I've talked to who've actually studied with this brother, when they tell me some of the things he's done, it makes my head swim. But when they know that you know, they acknowledge you as who you are. That's the bottom line. And you can't play this game half-step. Because what you're doing is you're taking on the status. I made a comment earlier, some would recognize me putting on this ties following, and some would understand signs and symbols, the diplomatic approach that we're trying to take, because that's all I've been trying to do. That's the end result of this game. Because some of y'all call yourselves diplomats, say you have diplomatic status the whole nine. And what you have been presented with gives you the ability to exercise all of that and then some. But the only way you can exercise that ability is just like that case said, through the organs of the Constitution. We've covered all the bases. Within the Constitution, you've got one of the books of the Law of Nations, you got the indigenous rights, you got all of that. Through the administrative process, we've empowered you with the ability to enforce your remedy. And with the end game, we've locked it all down, because now that piece gives you the ability to shut and bring an end to any form or any type of harassment. Any form, any type of harassment, any fictitious claims, regardless of who it's with. Yes, sir.
Oh, you said earlier that we should go and do our expatriation papers as soon as possible.
Oh, yeah.
Send them to the president. Who else?
Why you want to send him to the president?
All right. I mean, since he's the head guy of the corporation,
Is he?
that's what he called him. He's the CEO of the corporation.
Who actually runs the corporation? Whose name needs to be on all the documents? Somebody tell me right quick. Who understands corporation? Oh, say it again. Secretary. Secretary of State, I said it over and over and over.
Okay.
Secretary of State, Department of Foreign Affairs, State and the U.S.
Okay, so these things should go to the Secretary of State of the United States, in D.C., in the West,
And the state,
and the state that you was born in, just the state you reside in.
and the state you was born in, the state you reside in, wherever the contract was created, pretty much. Vital affairs, internal revenue. Anybody you think you need to acknowledge?
Well, expatriation would go to all those people, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Now, we have some people being challenged about their right to expatriate. And I'm like, well, I gave it to you. You don't understand it, that ain't my fault. But I did give it to you.
Because you talking about the paper, what it said, council, everything, the one.
No, I'm talking about a book. One of the books I put together.
I probably have more than.
Your status as a U.S. citizen. Here, pull up. Got you working today.
Oh,
Pull up the right to expatriate. It's in the common law info file. It's on the stick.
it's on this.
On the stick.
It's in the U.S.
Remember, the judge made a comment in Michigan about if you expatriate, you gotta leave the country, yada yada yada. You're not a U.S. citizen. You don't have a right, yada yada yada. And I'm like, wow, y'all make my head hurt. Because you already got the response in the beginning. Everything that is in the end game about the United States as a corporation to distinguish you from them, and you still asking questions. You still confused. And the only thing that you need to add to that is the right to expatriation, which is a statute at large, which says that government shall not interfere, because the whole purpose of the right to expatriate, saying the right to protect what? American citizens where? In foreign jurisdiction. And the District of Columbia is a foreign jurisdiction. All the cases at the beginning tell you that. My right to expatriate is my right. And if I ain't in the damn District of Columbia, if I am, then guess where I'm gonna expatriate to? From the District of Columbia to the state of Illinois or Michigan, or wherever I so choose. Because that's the only place he could be talking of. And as a matter of fact, when we responded, we let him know who was operating outside, who was foreign. Because every court in Illinois, where does it belong?
District of Columbia.
District of Columbia. Every court. The only one that's operating or in a foreign territory where they don't belong is the one who trying to claim that you don't have a right to be here once you expatriate. You done lost your mind, man.
But what if the state is not in its proper person?
We already said it's in the District of Columbia.
Yeah, the states.
So they ain't got no authority here. All the courts, all the agencies.
No, but I'm saying, if you saying you're gonna expatriate from the District of Columbia and you're gonna repatriate into the state in which you initially had your contract with, your birth certificate, or whatever.
No. We're not. No. All of that is the District of Columbia.
Right.
You're expatriating back into the what?
Into the Republic.
To the
But
organic.
it's not, well, it exists, but it's not being, recognized, or it's not demonstrated. Who's the common law state?
Well, I'm gonna put it this way. If it's not being recognized, then you
Because
choose
we're not
not to
recognized.
recognize it.
Well, okay, then where does that government reside for the state? The people. You. Right.
But this is what this whole concept we're trying to bring to you. You are we the people.
Right.
You, pro warranto, you become what? The Attorney General for what? The Republican form of government.
Right.
Every time one of them fools in the federal court open up their mouth and say, we the people on behalf of the citizens of the United States of America, they just committed fraud. Because they're not. And secondly, they don't have any authority to enforce that crap nowhere but the District of Columbia. The government and sovereignty belongs to those who do what? Who what?
Exercise.
Who exercise their right through what? Of the what?
Constitution.
Okay. So what we keep looking for something because we ain't recognized where it is. And so when I keep telling you about metaphysics, that the sole purpose of every being on this planet He's separated from the all, and it is our duty and job to evolve back into the what? The consciousness of what? The self, the higher self, the oneness, the supreme entity, the all in all. And the Constitution is based on the same principles. You are the one. You are we the people.
But in essence, by sending the Secretary of State,
Don't use buts. That indicates we're still confused. And I know you ain't.
okay, in essence, by sending the
When we
Secretary of
notice-
State, well, yeah, you're noticing the Secretary of State of your expatriation
From
the
Corporate.
conviction of the court.
exactly.
And then you're informing them that you are the true Secretary of State that you're repatriating into your own government.
No, not Secretary of State. Back into the national government.
Family and
Of
nation.
We the people.
But you have to have those titles. I'm saying once you
You have
expatriate
to have.
the titles
Hold on,
of Secretary of State, and
Why do you have to have those?
because you're your own government.
Oh, you get confused with a title now. You don't have to have none of that. When you do a suit under court warranto, what title do you automatically take on?
Attorney General.
Attorney, postmaster, attorney general.
The status comes with the action, point blank. The status comes with the action. That's why, would you repeat that quote you just quoted?
Become the Attorney General.
No, about the organs, your rights, and where they are and how they are sustained.
When you use the organs of
The right of sovereignty exists when you what?
exercise your rights.
When you
The
invoke,
organs of the Constitution.
when you invoke.
It is the Constitution. Y'all have not read that thing in school.
When you
The
invoke.
Constitution gives you, it don't give you anything. It acknowledges and that your rights are secured. But at all times, the only security is through you doing what?
Invoking.
Invoking and protecting.
Exercising those rights through what? The organs of the Constitution. And through the Constitution, all of these writs and everything is your right to your remedy. If you don't exercise your right, then you don't have one. That's it and all. If you don't exercise your rights through the organs of the Constitution, then you're saying, I have none. You are agreeing with the corporate Constitution because they say you don't have none. You have privileges. And if I grant you anything, where do you think that concept come from, being an Indian giver? Y'all don't know who the Indian was, that's all. The real red man. Let's go back into that whole warranto. Do we have clarity with that? Do we understand how we have rights?
By exercising.
By
Through the
exercising
Constitution,
the organs of the Constitution. Because they can't argue with that.
Mm-hmm.
You have the sole authority to declare as you so please. Did we find the expatriation?
I found a couple of them, which
No,
one?
go into, did you go into the stick? Go into my stick, because I just separated from everything. It's a file says the right to expatriate.
It says, it starts with the right to expatriate, or is it in a folder?
No, it's in a file. Are you in the stick?
I'm on the stick.
Go scroll down some more.
When did you, is
I
it new?
just saved it. I just saved it.
Oh, then it's.
Hold on.
The right.
The right, wait a minute. Right here. Here it is. Right there. Expatriation. The act of July 27,
Get it big enough?
yeah, check it out, bring it all the way up. The act of July 27, 1868, the Congress of the United States has formally acknowledged the distinction of American citizenship in legislation. What citizenship?
American.
American. When you read the whole body of the act, it is for the protection of the American citizen, not the U.S. citizen. The U.S. citizen don't have no rights, no protection, and no remedies. It has privileges. So when they incorporated and created the 14th Amendment, Congress has the right to make what? Any law it so chooses, as long as it does what? No, as long as it does what? It
Does it
has the right
provide
to
you an
make
alternative?
all administrative remedies it desires, as long as it provides
A remedy.
what kind of remedy?
Private.
No. A common law remedy.
Common law.
It can make any statutes, codes, and ordinances it pleases to, as long as it provides you a common law remedy. Now, where's that common law remedy protected? What code? Not a stamp. Title, come on. Give me that code, man, and quit playing. I'm talking to you.
Title 28, section 1333.
1333. Are you over there napping?
He's
Okay.
He's barely,
he got his
He
mind
must
on.
have did overtime or something. He looked like he done been up 72 hours.
It was title what, 28, 13, 33?
1333, save to suitor.
Yeah, okay.
The suitor, right to common law remedy is saved, protected, guaranteed. The Congress of the United States has formally acknowledged the distinction of American citizenship in legislation to wit, an act concerning the rights of American citizens in what? And I just cracked that judge's head. Why? Because I done already told him his authority and his jurisdiction is where? The District of Columbia. And the District of Columbia in relation to the state is what? Is foreign.
Foreign.
So don't you crack your mouth to tell me where, when, and how I can do what I choose to do. Because I'm the only one in this right.
We keep the 7 high. We keep the 7 high. Allah's my protector and my guide, and my salvation by the day and by the night. We keep the 7 high. We keep the 7 high. Allah's my protector and my guide, and my salvation by the day and by the night. Through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Yo, we keep the 7 high. We keep the RC and 9. Spirit man can never die. He get another life. Yo, he go back to the source of life. I prefer Moors, cause they are the light. We live side by side, keep a tight compass, no evil inside, unbelievers unwanted. I'm on the front line, yo, I keep the best defensive line. I'm at odds with my lower self, Allah is my only help. Tried and true, now I am my highest self. What's beneath me, beneath my belt? Ain't nobody going to heaven if Drew Ali don't get no credit. Quote that, brother Alan Bay said it now.